Hi there, I'm Shaina Pomerantz. I'm the Executive Director of Race Talks, Uniting to Break the Chains of Racism. I am so excited to have coleREED here with me. We have started a new year of Race Talks in person at Kennedy McMenamins gym, and we meet every second Tuesday of the month. And what's different about this year's programming is that I have reached out to community partners who are doing work in community centered around anti racism and asked them to come host on our Race Talks night. So many times I go to community events and see opportunities for discussing race and racism and think, man, this would be perfect for Race Talks. But it's not really my lane, it's not our lane. So I have reached out to community partners, and coleREED and Exit the Maze is going to be our first featured community host on April 11th. So Cole, thank you so much for agreeing to be part of Race Talks programming. And when people come, what can they expect to experience? Or what are you hoping that they will leave with by coming into the space with you?
Well, first I want to start with it's Dr. Shaina Pomerantz. And I say that out of respect because of the work that you have done on so many different levels. And so I think to give a woman, a black woman, her respect and due. So I'm going to say I am grateful to be here with you, Dr. Shaina Pomerantz.
Thank you. Thank
Um,
you.
what can you expect? You can expect to be invested in yourself enough to want to do the work from an artistic lens. I am a catalyst, a creator, but also a person who has been significantly harmed. After my third bodily harm threat from the Proud Boys and mental health, I decided to start something called eggsthemaze.org, which originally started with teaching the aspects of art, or I should say, the aspects around racism and mental health through an artistic lens. The scariest thing for a black person is a white person's imagination. And so, using the imagination to curate an opportunity that you can see reflectively from yourself from an artistic point of view. I don't necessarily see myself as a changer, but more of a catalyst and an opportunity for you to do the work yourself. And so, what you can expect here is to meet some amazing artists who have their own experiences with racism and colorism. And for me, that's the important thing from an artistic development. If young people, young black kids, can be taught how to survive through traffic stops, just through the mistreatment, especially what's happening now with PPS and the racism that's just rampant through, our kids aren't getting the help that they need. And I think that starts at home. So if we can teach our children how to survive, I'm no longer interested in survival. I'm in the thrival. And so if we can teach our kids how to do it, you can teach your kids how not to be racist. I want to help you do that so my own children can thrive. I'm not a survivalist anymore. I'm a thrivalist. I want you to thrive with me.
I love that. One of the things that, first of all, you were just like one of the coolest people I know. So my aesthetic today was, asking you what we wearing, cousin. So I'm trying to match and keep up with your vibe here. But the reality is that you've had some extreme hardship, coming to Portland, and we talk a lot. So when you and I first met about 7 years ago, you had been adopted in community by my aunt. And
Mm-hmm.
so the way we met was, you said, hi, cousin. And I was like, we related? What happened? And so my aunt said, yeah, this is now my daughter. I've adopted her. This is your new cousin. And so we have been family ever since. And so
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that we have in common is the fact that we have a black and Jewish lineage, and we have talked a lot about colorism.
Mm-hmm.
And so we know that my mom has more richly melanated skin than I do. Your mom has lighter melanated skin than you do. We both have Jewish fathers, and we've been in these integrated racial, religious, cultural experiences as Black women in community. How does that inform how you show up and do your work and live and exist?
Hmm. The deep breath on that is because, Portland, again, I talked before about the schematics and the percentages of black people. Um, so for me, not understanding the politics of that, but going into with an extreme amount of ignorance, you get beat up a little bit because this is a place where the Proud Boys still exist.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all wouldn't have made it in Chicago. Just saying, you wouldn't have made it in Chicago. And so to make Portland a city that they can't continually thrive, so the foundation of that is the history of Oregon.
Yeah.
And first of all, if you don't know the history of Oregon, you should.
Mm-hmm.
We have the highest number of KKK-esque organizations out of the South. Slavery wasn't even an option here because they didn't even want free black labor. That's how racist we are. Like, we don't even want you to be here to work for free.
Right.
And so when you have that, we live in a culture of an inundation of continued racism, but now it's our doctors, our lawyers, our politicians, dare I say. And so the always on a point of survival. I come from a place where everybody's your cousin. Chicago, if you're Haitian, that's your cousin.
Right.
If you're Puerto Rican, that's your cousin who can swim. It's all about being your cousin. And so I'm looking for more cousins. Wait.
I'm sorry. Let me put my serious face back on. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say we should take this on the road, and we're taking this on the road.
I'm trying to be straight here. You over here cracking jokes.
No, I'm not, and that's the thing. No, it is serious.
Yeah.
So we can joke
Absolutely.
about it, and I got to a place where it's really important for me to talk about the mental health of what racism and colorism does.
Yeah.
It tanks it. I'm gonna own it. I allowed it to tank my life in such a way because I was so invested in the pain that I forgot about the hope.
Mm.
And so you have to get to a place, I had to get to a place where I was invested and remembered the hope. And I think that's not an I thing, that's a we thing.
Yeah.
I want to walk with my neighbors, my friends, and fear is fear. We're all afraid of something.
Yeah.
And colorism, which is so deeply rooted in racism and the politics of a growth that has nothing to do with actual power.
Yeah.
So what I'm invested in is we can use, humor as a format. I'm invested in the change. 3-4 years ago, I literally walked out of a race talks because the synergy in me was they're out to get me.
I remember that day. We had a full room of folks. I want to say we had 150, 200. It was an
Easy.
in-person forum. We had counselors from the Avell Gordley Center there. We were talking about mental health specifically and the impact to Black folks. How the impact of racism on Black folks. And I remember we were transitioning between the program part and our breakout facilitated conversation. And you came up to me and you're like, cousin, are you good? I have to get out of here, but I want to support you. Are you good? What do you need? And I was like, I'm good. Thank you for taking care of yourself. And I think that's how we continuously show up for each other in spaces. And I love that about us and our connection and also we joke and we talk a lot of shit and we're sarcastic. And I think that's just the overlap
No.
of the Black and Jewish parts of the cultural upbringings, that you have two really rich groups of people who also have a long history of oppression. And, we have had to joke and laugh to keep from crying and just completely falling apart. And the reality is that this pandemic, the past few years, on top of what we were already experiencing living here, has been tough for so many of us, holding it together. You talk about your bodily harm threats, but I don't think people understand that you're a business owner in community. And, I come from a long legacy of my grandparents who own businesses here, and, the hardship of owning a business and already, dealing with any kind of scrutiny and trying to meet the demands already of serving the Black community. But then when you're also being targeted with white supremacist violence on top of that, and not coming from here and trying to figure out, like, having a Chicago response to a place that's not Chicago, and looking for support. And as a result, you have poured into community in a great way. Community hopefully has poured back into you, but the result is even recently you closed one of your businesses because of threats that were still coming to you. And
For this part, I am gonna say, hmm. Well, first, I try not to at this point give that so much energy because I was invested in that energy for so long. But I will say this to our Portland Police Department. When you can have two documented cases of violence from a very large white man with a shaved head and a Confederate flag tattooed on the back of his head, but he still can't be found when he's 350 plus, and I'm still afraid,
yeah,
that is beyond. But there's so many stories about that.
yeah,
And I think the only difference is that made my story hit press is the access to whiteness. Because there are so many of our elders and so many of our brothers and sisters, time and time and time again, who've been swept under the rug due to the lack of access.
what does that mean when you say access to whiteness?
So when you have, whether it be education, opportunity, and those things are access to whiteness, because it's about class. And for me, no matter how many opportunities you have, you cannot forget where you've come from. My grandmother was a maid. My grandfather was a porter, and that was a fancy black man's job, back in the day.
Yeah.
And they had 9 kids in the hood and put 7 through college. My mom went to NYU, and I went to private school. And so with that, you'd never still forget where you've come from.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell people all the time, no matter what you think of me, what I know is my grandmother cleaned floors so my mama can build floors so I can build upon them.
I heard that.
And so for me now, I needed to take some time to work on my mind, my heart, and my own synergy to grow as an individual. To allow that to be where it was, to truly invest in my community with the hope and love that I left at the door due to fear. So I'm here to talk about the honest truth about what it does to our psychology. So right now, it's so amazing because this is a fundraiser. There's always, bring your white dollars. This is a joint fundraiser with exitthemaze.org and Race Talks. And right now, I decided to change the whole programming. It started about art, and now it's mental health, art. And I'm looking to partner with someone like Mercedes because I want a Mercedes mattress van. And what do I want to do with that?
I love it.
I want to travel the Pacific Northwest and hit the mountains. I want to hit the water, and I want to open it and have campfires to talk about change.
So we're literally going to take this on the road.
We're literally going to take this on the road.
I'm just checking. I love it.
To be in a place of wellness and balance. I want to have conversations on the beach. I'm not necessarily interested in filling forums with this.
Yeah.
What I'm interested in is healing this.
Yeah.
That is what's changed. And so, to everyone else, I'm inviting you, let's get in the van and have a conversation. Let's go to the beach and talk about what we can do. Let's go for a hike. Not me personally, I'm allergic to all grass and I'm an indoor enthusiast other than water. But I will kayak with you. And so for me, it's about finding the joy again in my own reflection because I'm also a mama. And so when you have those things going on and it changes your psychology, it affects how you do your number one job, or my number one job is to be somebody's mama. And so for me, there was so much fear and I didn't even understand that the biggest fear of all wasn't just if you hit me, but if you miss me, who do you get?
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we take the principles in that in racism.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dr. King was peaceful until someone almost hit his son.
Yes.
And so we almost saw a very different side of Dr. King. So
yes.
I think, we can be peace and love. We can be nonviolent. But we have some very real situations going on out here. And so I'm tremendously grateful for the opportunity to have you come and fill our Race Talk space with your love and your light and your healing energy. I think you are an incredible artist, an incredible person, And so I think anybody who has the good fortune of coming, being in space with you, will feel that and come away feeling that about themselves as well. Just to clarify, so folks who plan to come on April 11th, we have the doors that will open at 6 p.m. We have a newcomer welcome at 6:45, and we have generally it's free. It will be free. Cole mentioned a fundraiser, so normally when people come, they will be giving their donations to Race Talks, but on April 11th, all donations and money that is received will go to Exit the Maze, and we will have a program and an opportunity to have facilitated dialogue. So if people want to check out Exit the Maze, how can they do that?
We have access exitthemaze.org. We do have our platform, and I decided to change it a little bit, so you can definitely check out the website, which is going through some changes because I want it to be about movement. And I came up with this idea about true healing, and where does that happen here? The energy of stillness and conversation. Basically what you guys have been doing for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And before we end this, I think it's also important to say thank you. To you as become my community cousin, Aunt Donna and Ema. Both my parents are gone. And when you go through I'm going to see, keep rolling because it's important. And I think vulnerability is important. And we cannot heal if we don't deal and allow each other the vulnerability. And I lost my vulnerability for a really, really long time out of fear.
Yeah.
And so now my job again is to be the best version of myself, to be the best mama, the best business owner, and also for rest.
Yes.
And so to everyone out here, especially the Black women out there, it is not our job. Get a massage, sis.
Yeah.
Take a nap.
Go sit down.
Go sit down.
Go on a vacation.
And I learned that yesterday. And what that takes is this.
Yeah.
And so I want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I am very grateful for the support that I've had. But I also didn't have the ability to know that I needed help because of that, you need to get through it, you need to get through it. And then when you realize that, the synergy to ask for the assistance. I learned that yesterday. Don't wait so long. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. If you want more details about the event, you can go to racetalkspdx.com, RACETALKS
exitthemaze.org. And if your vibe ain't right, stay at home. That's more than confident. If your vibe ain't right, stay at home.
That part.
I'm gonna say it one more time. If your vibe ain't right, stay at home.
One more time for the people in the back.
If your vibe ain't right, stay at home.